From the living room board game to the marquee big screen, it's a murder mystery that's no longer a game. When 6 invited guests respond to an anonymous invitation to dinner at a mansion, their host is murdered, and the mystery delves into a comedic whodunit. Wes and David gather the evidence, investigate the motive, and make the case for the unlikely 1985 ensemble hit comedy mystery, Clue, on View the Right Thing.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of View the Right Thing. Got another quarantine special episode with my brother. Say hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Perfect. So it's been about a week, and we've watched another movie. How has the last week been for you?
It's a lot like the week before, and a lot like the week before that, and a lot like the week before that.
Yeah. Anything exciting or interesting happened in the last week? I think that silence is a no.
I'm really trying to think if something exciting happened, and I want to say, yeah, this thing happened, but no, nothing happened.
No, nothing really happened on our end either. Just more video games and movies and TV shows and unpacking for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I think we've discussed this already, the most pleasant way you could spend a pandemic is in our lifetime.
Right.
I mean, unless it gets better like 100 years from now, but this is way better than it would have been 25 years ago.
Right. Well, have you been watching any like interesting TV or anything?
Not particularly. We don't tend to binge watch, so we're behind everyone. And my wife likes to hoard the last episode, so we're like on the last episode of like 4 different TV shows.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. So it's like we're on the last episode of Tiger King, the last episode of The Watchmen, the last episode of something else I can't remember. So that's why it's good for me to have a few of my own shows.
Yeah. Well, if you don't watch that last episode, it never ends.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's sometimes there's like another season.
Sure. We've been watching Star Trek: The Next Generation, so we could get caught up to watch Picard.
Yeah, we've been thinking of. We do that anyway. We always have on our DVR 4 or 5 of certain shows queued up. So she'll have 4 or 5 Dick Van Dykes just in the hopper. As time goes by, there'll be 4 or 5 of those on the DVR.
Oh, I like that one.
And then usually 4 or 5 MASH and 4 or 5 Star Trek Next Generation. And we don't watch it very often, but on a whim, we'll watch the Mike Tyson cartoon show, which makes us laugh very hard.
Wait, which cartoon?
The Mike Tyson cartoon.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, I highly recommend it. It's not something that I think you would watch a whole bunch of, but I think they're also short. I think they're like 20 minutes, and I think it's maybe Norm Macdonald is a pigeon in it. It's genius as far as I'm concerned.
All right.
Because Mike Tyson is known for being a genius.
Yeah, right. Well, I think this one's going to be a shorter episode than last week.
I do too.
Because there's not, again, it's not like it's a film that was like it's not a ton of subtext or substance to it. But so we watched Clue from, what year was it?
1985. So one of the first things I asked Stephanie, I said, wow, this is from like the late 90s, huh? And she said, no, I think it's from the early 90s. And then when we looked it up, we thought, wow, I had no idea it was that long ago.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, too, because Back to the Future takes place in 1985, and Christopher Lloyd looks significantly younger in this than he does in Back to the Future, I think.
Right. Well, but he doesn't, he's playing a different character, right? They dressed him up funny in the other one.
Yeah, and he has like white hair and stuff in the other one, and I don't know. I think I've always just seen him. I think Doc Brown has always just been so ingrained in my mind that I've always seen him as just kind of an old man. And I don't think even Doc Brown is that old of a guy. I just think I've just always seen him as old.
Well, who else was like that? Now that I've mentioned the show already, but the guy that played Colonel Potter on MASH was not nearly as old as he played when he was on MASH.
Right. So Clue, 1985. So first things first, had you seen the film?
I had, but it had been forever ago, so I couldn't tell you what ending I saw. I don't think I remembered an iota of the film, but I had seen it.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Yeah, I did too.
I loved it. I thought it was like multiple sort of styles of comedy crammed into this thing that were like almost like just specific, like, oh, let's do this thing that that this comedy duo used to do, or that the Three Stooges used to do, or something that was like a mishmash of all that, of a bunch of different kinds of types of comedy, like over the years put into this film.
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost like a little who's on first bit in the middle of it. There's definitely like, a curly, like, poke him in the eyes bit there, Yeah,
Mr. Body. Yeah. It's such a good cast.
Oh, great cast. Really great cast.
Carrie Fisher was almost in it.
Who?
Carrie Fisher.
I just before we came on, I read through the Wikipedia page and saw that. I'll tell you, I didn't know who he was. I still know his name, but early on, I would actually say through about 2/3 of the movie, I thought, man, Lenny is killing this movie. He is fantastic.
Michael McKean?
If that's Lenny, yeah.
Yeah. He played Mr. Green.
He's the Lenny to Squiggy, right? From Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah.
So
he's so good.
In the first, I think the first half to 2/3 of it, I'm just like, this guy, like all the famous people, and Lenny is my favorite in this thing. And then you gotta kind of like take a step back and like, the butler like goes nuts, like has a heyday with the show, right? Like it becomes his show.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw this, but Tim Curry wasn't even like the first two choices.
Well, talk about someone who didn't age very well. Like I've never seen him. I mean, I must have, because I saw a show, but like I couldn't believe how young and trim he was by the time he gets to like, where I first actually became aware of him was like in 1995 or something like that. He did a TV series called Earth that I think was pretty bad, but I loved it and watched it every Sunday night. And he was in that. He was very evil and good. Not evil and good, but good at being evil. And then, of course, Muppet Treasure Island, where also good at...
He's older.
But really kind of let himself go between the movie Clue and those other two periods of his life.
Had you not seen Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah, no, you're right. I guess I forgot about that. Yeah.
Did you see the TV version of It? Because he was the clown in that, although you wouldn't be able to tell.
No. I forgot about Rocky Horror, though. That's a good point, too. What year was that?
Yeah. Rocky Horror? Well, that was the 70s, right?
Yeah, I mean...
1975?
Mm. Yeah.
So 10 years before this.
But I thought also, and the scene where... I think my favorite... Do you have a favorite scene?
Oh man, do I have a favorite scene? I really love watching all the endings. For some reason, I get a kick out of that. But an individual scene, no, I don't think I have a favorite one. They're all just kind of, I don't know. I just enjoy the whole movie.
I think it's a really good movie. So I like a lot of it. I laughed very, very hard. I don't know why, at the scene where the police officer comes in and they're making out with the dead bodies.
Oh, yeah.
Which is both gross and hysterical at the same time.
Yeah, I like a lot of the Yvette stuff. I think it's pretty like I really like when she's like, you know, she doesn't want to go upstairs because it's dark and she's afraid of the dark, and the first two guys go, "I'll go with you," and then Mr. Green goes, "I won't."
Yeah, that was good. And Mr. Green was excellent. Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. That's a good choice. How'd you choose that movie?
Well, we had a conversation like months and months ago where I can't remember exactly what the conversation was about, but I think you were saying, you know, it might have been about Knives Out, and you were saying like it's such a good cast. I don't think there's ever been a cast put together this well before. And I was like, well, but you know, this is kind of the same kind of movie, but Clue has such an incredible cast. It's like, I can't think of who I would replace in the cat. Maybe Mr. Body, maybe, but he's so inconsequential that like doesn't really matter if you replace him or not.
All right, so if you're gonna be hypercritical, you know who I would, if you're gonna be hypercritical, you know who I was most disappointed in?
Was that
Lloyd?
Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah, like I wanted some Doc Watson kind of like, or you know, like Doc Watson. Is that what I mean? Doc. What's his name? The Doc from. I wanted some more like craziness out of him or something, and he was kind of.
Oh, Doc Brown.
Doc Brown. Sorry. He was kind of like fine. I mean, he was really adequate in that role, but like he was maybe the least interesting character in that movie.
Yeah, maybe. Like, you know, it's funny. For a lot of the movie, I kept kind of because I haven't seen it in a while. I kept thinking, I remember Madeline Kahn being better in this, or like bigger.
So I thought she was so good.
But I felt like the whole movie, I kept kind of going, you know, I feel like she's like subdued, but then I think in the second half she becomes a lot better. Like she does like the little scream thing, and then the best is the ad-lib line about the flames. The flames, on the side of my face. Oh man, that's my favorite line of the whole movie. I think. Did you know there's a fourth ending that they shot, but they didn't. They've never included on any release.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
So there's an ending where Wadsworth has killed everybody and gets away, and he's poisoned everybody's drinks with a slow-acting toxin. And the police come in and they catch him and they like punch him and stuff. And then he goes to reenact the whole thing for the police. And while he does that, he slips out the front door and locks everybody in. And then he gets in his car and drives away. And as he's driving away, you see he's driving the car, and the dogs from the doghouse are in the car with him. They start growling and stuff. Apparently that was too dark.
Yeah, that was good. I have a bit of a dark side, though. All right, well, I think that's a good choice.
Yeah. I wish that we could have seen this in the theater when it was out.
Yeah,
you know?
it would have been fun.
Like
more of a, so yeah, I'll tell you something. Yeah, so when I went to, I think it would have been more interesting, right? Like it would have felt like a group activity with all the strangers in the theater, I think.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been the kind of thing that you would have gone multiple times to try to see the different endings?
I don't, because I wouldn't have the patience for the first 7/8 of the show to watch again.
Oh yeah, there's a movie that came out 2 years ago. I keep trying to remember what it's called. I have it, but I can't remember what the name is, because there's another movie that's similar to it. Not Unfriended, I don't believe. It's a movie like that. It's a horror movie, and it's actually done really well. But they did 3 different endings, and then they just released them randomly in different theaters. And so we got like, oh, it is Unfriended. It's the second Unfriended film, Unfriended the Dark Web, from 2018, and they released 3 different versions in the theater, which I thought was pretty cool.
And it was well received that way?
Well, they didn't tell anyone. They just did it. And then I went and saw the movie opening weekend just because I really enjoyed the first film. And I liked this one, and then I went home and was looking up some information about it, and people were talking in forums, and they were saying, so I have a friend who worked at a movie theater, and they have, on their real listing, they have unfriended ending A and unfriended ending B. And so people started like looking more into it, and it turns out they did 3 different versions in the theater.
That's great. Here's an interesting thing that I don't know how this works out. So when you bring up Clue, it says that 91% of Google users like this movie.
Yeah.
It also says on Rotten Tomatoes it only got 62%.
By critics or by audiences?
I don't know. This is just like whatever. I don't know what. Let me see if.
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes now. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Clue.
Oh, here we go. I don't know where I got that number from. Oh, no. See, critic consensus is 62%. Audience score 86%.
Yeah. So they have their top critics, which are, people who are from an accredited film, publication, RogerEbert.com or whatever, right? They rated it on average about 60%.
So would you say this makes them out of like the group of them, out of touch with the group of audience consumers of this movie?
I think that, no, I mean, look, if I were to like be really, really critical about the film, there's probably some mistakes in it. It's probably dated, and, it probably like, who knows what was out at the time, the time period and when a movie's released and a critic reviews it, that can affect like how people feel about it, and times change. It definitely got a cult following after it got released on video. So, there's a whole bunch of different factors that can kind of go into that.
That makes sense.
We saw that a couple years ago with, I don't know if you saw the movie Venom.
No, I wanted to, but I didn't see it.
So, as a Spider-Man fan, as a comic book guy, like that movie should have been made for me. Like I should.
You told me you didn't think you were going to like it before it came out.
I did not like the movie at all. Or not at all. I shouldn't say I didn't like it at all. I thought that it was kind of a fun movie, but it's made really, really badly. And so when somebody says, is Venom a good movie? It's like, well, you probably enjoy watching it, but it's not a good movie. But this was, I'm pulling it up right now. I'm just trying to get the audience rating right now. The critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes is 29%, fully rotten. The audience score for Venom is 80%.
Wow.
So sometimes how well a movie's made doesn't really matter if like the audience has a really good time, right? But there's stuff in that movie where like there's a huge plot hole in Venom, and then there's like a car chase scene, and they just recycle footage. Like they drive past this movie theater with like big lights and stuff. It's not like it's a small building. And they just recycle footage of them going past that like 3 or 4 times in the chase scene. And it's just kind of like poorly made. But it's exciting and it's kind of funny, and Tom Hardy is fun to watch just about anything. And so I think people liked it. Didn't really matter what the critics thought.
Well, all right. Well, I think this was a good choice for us. All right. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about for next week.
All right.
Well, yeah, but I think I'll tell you what I was thinking. So there's a bunch of stuff that's out that we haven't seen, but you've probably seen it recently, so that probably is not as much fun for you to see something you've seen in the last 9 months or something.
It's all right.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff we haven't seen. We still haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, and we still haven't seen I don't know what that one movie called. Something about Hollywood. They're in Lonesomeness in Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
And then we haven't seen those. I also was, when I was watching this, I was thinking about old movies, and I was like, oh, I think it was kind of a dumb girl movie, but I sort of like Legally Blonde, so I could do that.
I've never seen
that. So I could do that. And then if we wanted a theme, we could do an old movie, and we could do April in Paris, because April and we can't go to Paris.
Okay, I don't know that I've seen April in Paris.
I mean, April. I think it's a classic.
April in Paris. Let me look it up.
It's got a song and everything.
Huh.
I worry that in black and white. I typically won't watch black and white or Technicolor, but if we want,
you won't watch.
It's really hard for me.
Huh.
I like black and white photography. I don't like black and white movies very much. I didn't choose to be born so I could watch black and white in that time frame so I could watch black and white movies. I'm all about color and 3D.
Okay. Let me see what's easily available for us to stream. If April in Paris you can't even stream it, then there's no point, right? Sorry, my internet's been a little slow today. So we're gonna look up April in Paris first.
What's that called?
Are
you using that app?
Yeah, Just Watch. April in Paris from 1952. Yeah, I can rent that.
You can rent it or you can stream it.
I can rent it. You can't stream it.
It's on Amazon Prime's top movies that people look for.
It says you can rent it on Amazon for $1.99.
That's terrible.
Or we can look up Legally Blonde. It's another one I haven't seen. So I would rather, if we were going to watch one of those newer ones, I would rather rewatch Jojo Rabbit. I think it's the better film. I'm not a big Tarantino fan.
You have to rent Legally Blonde too. It looks like.
Yeah. Well, it's up to you. Whichever one you think. I've not seen either Legally Blonde or April in Paris, so it's your.
All right. Well, let's leave our if anyone's made it this far into the podcast, let's leave them in suspense, and I will consult with my roommate and tell you tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Sounds good then. Wow, this wasn't.
How short is it?
Well,
that's perfect. I can barely listen to anything I have to say for more than 5.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
Trying to think if there's anything else about Clue that was interesting.
It's funny. It's witty. It's different kinds of comedy. Great actors.
If you're a board game fan,
I guess. Yeah.
They do a lot of like small things, like all the rooms are in the right place based off of the board. The floor looks like the floor on the board. When they split up, they all take their matchsticks. They split up. They do that in the correct turn order. Starting with the Scarlet and so on. So that's kind of neat. They Wadsworth. I think the original people who made the game was they were called Waddington was the name of the company. So like Wadsworth, I think is sort of a nod to that. Oh, the color of all their cars is their clothing is the opposite of their color in the game, but the cars that they drive are the actual colors of their vehicles. So so they did some neat little things that I thought were if you're a board game fan, but so yeah. All right.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
And now
So I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, everyone. We will see you soon.